Hello, this is George Roscoe with Informed Parents of California, and in this third video I will be discussing the business items from the NEA, the National Educators Association, which is the National Teachers Union. And out of their 160 new business items for 2019, there were 11 that I found that dealt with racism or white supremacy. And this is, again, very interesting that this is what they are really talking about, when in fact they should be talking how to become better teachers and serve the students better. Let's go over to business item 11. And under this one, I had previously read it. It brought in the concept of white fragility and to show that there's racial stress and there's this white supremacy, and white people don't understand what it means to live a life under racial tensions, and they don't need to tolerate these racial stresses as other groups in our country do. The next one is business item 19. That deals with a similar topic. The NEA will promote the Black Lives Matter Week of Action in schools during Black History Month in 2020. That's right. So all of the very violent Black Lives Matter movement that we have seen over the last couple years, well, the NEA supports that. They support violence. And I really want everyone, parents and teachers, to read this business item 19 because it says here that the NEA will specifically call for clear efforts to demonstrate support for the 4 demands of the Black Lives Matter Week of Action in schools. Number 1, ending zero tolerance policies and replacing them with restorative justice practices. Hiring and mentoring Black educators, mandating that ethnic studies be taught in pre-K through 12 schools in age-appropriate ways, and hiring more counselors, not cops. So again, to them, Black Lives Matter is something very, very important, and they sponsor a lot of those protests that are going on. So can you imagine, teachers, if you're a teacher listening to this, your union dues are going to sponsor Black Lives Matter. I want to take some time here and encourage you to get out of the teachers union. Unless you are there and involved at the leadership level and you are trying to change things from the inside out, if you're doing that, thank you. But if you're not, please get out of there. Opt out. Please inform yourself on the Janus ruling that passed in 2018 and that frees you from the tyranny and the totalitarianism of the teachers union. And in fact, the Janus ruling applies to all public union employees. You are free from being forced and enslaved to pay their union dues, and all of their dues that are coming from you are going to support this ridiculous kind of ideology. Another business item here, 21, it says NEA will create an electronic toolkit that will assist locals in developing member allies who will serve as diversity ambassadors to engage in courageous conversations in an effort to support educators of color and other targeted and marginalized educators. And the rationale is that teachers of color make up approximately 18% of the workforce, while students of color are the majority in classrooms. Again, it has nothing to do with teaching. They're constantly going after, minorities and trying to show that, in fact, it's white people that are the problem. Let's see here, business item 31 and 33. 31 was adopted, and it says, utilizing existing communications resources, the NEA shall publicize the investigation that has uncovered state and federal funding for Confederate museums, shrines, and groups that present a distorted view of history and perpetuate racist ideology. Once again, I think they are confusing our history here. Business item 33 talks about the NEA will investigate using existing committees and the National Vocational and Career Technical Education Caucus to determine the impacts of the CTE programs in the reduction of institutional racism. I don't know where in the world they're getting all this from. Let's see here. Another one. Business item 50 says, adopted as amended, NEA will use existing avenues of communication to call on the city and state of New York to issue an official and formal apology to Antoine McCrae, Kevin Richardson, Yusef Salam, Raymond Santana, and Corey Weiss, the exonerated five. NEA will also write a letter to the five men informing them of our support and the action we took to call for an apology from New York. And here it says the rationale behind this is that the NEA Resolution 50 states that the belief that educators recognize the culture of white supremacy and white privilege. Wow. I mean, they're really, really going off here on the crazy end. Item 64 says the following. It says, at the beginning of all NEA convenings, NEA will acknowledge the native people of whom the lands originated from. Yes, the NEA is so caring about the fact that we whites have come and have obliterated the natives from North America, and it's our fault. And they say here within NEA's racial and social justice program, this acknowledgement of native lands elevates awareness and commitment to the native people across our nation. This acknowledgement will bring to light the racial inequalities of native people today. Well, if the NEA really has a heart for this and they think this is the right thing to do and cares about this group of people who they feel have been so wronged, I believe the NEA owns millions of dollars in assets, and by that I mean real estate assets. I recommend that they be the first to act upon this business item, which was adopted as modified, and I would encourage them to modify it even further, that the NEA will take a leadership role by handing over all of their real estate assets to the people whose native lands they have taken as well. So please, NEA, lead by example. I don't think I will be holding my breath out for that one. Business item 84. Let's see here. This one says the NEA will use existing resources by utilizing the Racial Justice Education Program to provide quality anti-racist, anti-biased, culturally competent virtual professional development opportunities. The NEA wants all of its members to go through these kind of professional development programs, and they try to indoctrinate their members on this whole white supremacy, racial justice education. So with that, I'll finish off this video on this whole white supremacy and racism. Yes, the NEA could care less about your children, could care less about parental rights, and in fact, they are on their own mission to solve all the world's problems.